Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and excuse the slight croaky throat this evening. I'm delighted to be here with all of you tonight to mark the publication of In the Shadows. It's my book about the extraordinary men and women of the Intelligence Corps. And the Corps is a part of the British Army that's often overlooked, and that's unfairly in my view. Much of its work is secret, and this is definitely one reason why it cannot always be acknowledged in a way that it should be. Nevertheless, this project has confirmed to me that not enough people know about the crucial work that the Corps has done and continues to do. And I really hope that In the Shadows will go some way to addressing that gap. And the book launches are a time to express gratitude to others who have helped the author, but I'm deliberately going to keep these thank yous short tonight and refer you instead to the acknowledgements page in the book. However, I must say a public thank you to William Hague for writing the foreword, and welcome here tonight, William. And I want to thank my publishers, Bite Back. Of course, I want to thank them, I own them. Particularly James Stephen and Olivia Beattie. And I'm also grateful to Andrea Entwistle and her team for arranging the event this evening. And a big thanks as well to the male titles and their editors, Ted Verity and David Dillon, for their wonderful serialization this month. And thank you to 3 former Corps members, Mick Laurie, John Condon, and Mark Hallis, for their very valuable efforts in helping with this project. And last, by no means, I'm so pleased to be able to welcome tonight Betty Webb, a remarkable lady who was attached to the Intelligence Corps during the Second World War. And I hope Betty won't mind me telling everyone that she is now 99 years old. She has traveled here today from Worcester, and I believe I'm right in saying that she is one of the last, if not the last, of those still alive who wore the Intelligence Corps cap badge during the war. In 1941, aged 18, Betty worked at Bletchley Park, the Allied Code Breaking Centre in Buckinghamshire. And in 1945, she worked for 5 months in the Pentagon as part of a small British team assisting American decoders. You can read more about her sterling service in the book. But suffice to say for now, Betty, thank you very much indeed for coming tonight. And Betty is standing over there. Thank you. And really, Betty, it is such an honor to have you with us tonight. Thank you for coming. There have been many illustrious members of the Intelligence Corps. For example, during the First World War, John Buchan, the author of the 39 Steps, served in the Corps. Sir Hardy Amis, the Queen's dressmaker, was in the Corps during the Second World War. And John le Carré began his adventures in the spy trade while serving in the Corps in the 1950s. But this book, which is not a conventional work of military history, doesn't focus on any of these fascinating men. Instead, it is intended as a literary salute to the thousands of lesser-known but no less impressive people who have served in the Corps over the past century or so. Scores of them have done exceptional things all over the world in the name of their country. Some have paid the ultimate price. It seems only right that their collective courage, judgment, skill, and resourcefulness should be acknowledged. And speaking of acknowledgements, tonight I'm very pleased to have here some relatives and loved ones of the several Intelligence Corps operators who gave their lives in recent years while on active service. And to those representing Major Matthew Bacon, who was killed in Iraq, Corporal Sarah Bryant, who was killed in Afghanistan, Lance Corporal Jabron Hashmi, who was killed in Afghanistan, and also in Afghanistan, Lance Corporal James Bynett. And I say thank you for coming. It means an awful lot to have you here. And just as armies reflect the history, geography, and culture of a nation, so the growing relevance of military intelligence mirrors the way Britain's armed forces have evolved. The Corps only formally came into being in 1940, though it had existed unofficially during the First World War. And until 1945, its importance was understood, but somehow underestimated. And up to that point, many intelligence duties were carried out by those who have been described as gifted amateurs. That is to say, unusual but talented people who were able to track down and utilize information which was of use to the armed forces. After the war, attitudes changed. The Army recognized it needed dedicated intelligence professionals on full-time call, linguists, experts in human intelligence, and those able to undertake surveillance, agent handling, signals intelligence, counterintelligence, and imagery analysis. And these specialists proved their worth time and again during the Cold War in Northern Ireland and in the conflicts in the Falklands, Iraq, and Afghanistan, amongst other places. And they continue to do vital work today. In fact, no commander will deploy on operations without the Intelligence Corps providing knowledge and understanding. And this helps to explain, whereas other parts of the British Army have shrunk over the past few decades, the Intelligence Corps has grown. As the 21st century progresses and international relations become increasingly complex, the significance of the Intelligence Corps has only become greater. Whether in tackling matters of security, terrorism, or war, exploiting information and turning it into good and timely intelligence has never had a higher value. And successive British governments this century have questioned the need to maintain traditionally equipped armed forces, yet Russia's invasion of Ukraine proved that conventional threats remain. And the Corps is able to provide the necessary intelligence to inform the British military and its allies of them. Indeed, the warning transmitted around the world in early 2022 of Russia's intended actions was a British initiative. Specifically, it was the idea of Intelligence Corps officers who ran the project. This warning did not stop Russia, but it did allow nations and organizations to prepare. And In the Shadows is not an exhaustive account of the Intelligence Corps. Instead, it aims to provide insights into the Corps' many different activities and achievements through individual members, something no previous published history has done. And a total of 282 members of the Corps have died since 1940 while involved in operations around the war, 3 of whom were women. Many died alone in distressing circumstances, including several who were tortured and executed in Nazi death camps. This book was written in their honor especially. And I'll end by asking you to do your bit to support good causes, of course, by buying lots of copies of In the Shadows for yourself, your family, your friends, and your other contacts. And that's because this struggling author in front of you is giving 100% commitment to donating all the royalties to military charities. And equally importantly, these are astonishing stories of value that deserve a wider audience. And there's just one final thing to say. Originally, I had intended to mention one Prime Minister tonight, Liz Truss, because I recently found out that her grandfather was in the Intelligence Corps during the Second World War. But now that we have a new Prime Minister, I'm going to say a quick word about him instead. As some of you may remember, I wrote his first ever biography of Rishi Sunak 2 years ago when he was Chancellor. Now that Rishi has moved into number 10, I'm pleased to announce that I'm going to revise and update that book and publish it next year after doing the biggest polling of the British public that they have seen and focus groups around the country to add within that book as to whether the Conservative Party is fit for purpose. So if anybody has any good stories about him that they'd like to share with me, my door is open. Please get in touch. And thank you all very much for coming here this evening. Thank you.